Shortly after the midterms concluded, or at least most of the races concluded on Wednesday, Donald Trump announced that Matthew Whitaker was going to be the new acting Attorney General for the United States because he had asked Jeff Sessions to resign. Now, Donald Trump has had beef against Jeff Sessions since the day that Jeff Sessions recused himself from the Mueller investigation. In fact, that whole thing is the reason we even had to have a special prosecutor in the first place, because Jeff Sessions couldn't and wouldn't do it. Literally the one good thing this man ever did in office, and he just paid for it with his job. Had he been corrupt as hell, or at least as corrupt as every other member of this administration and the cabinet, he'd still have a job. But again, decides to do one good thing in his life and then pays for it with the best job he ever had. But nonetheless, in response to the firing of Sessions, there are mass protests taking place today at 5 p.m. local time, depending on where your time zone is. It's supposed to be 5 p.m. across the board. But these protests are not to mourn the loss of Jeff Sessions. No, these protests are to protect Robert Mueller and the Office of the Special Prosecutor's investigation into Donald Trump. Because here's the thing, the reason Jeff Sessions had to go, again, is because he recused himself, and Donald Trump wants this investigation to go away. He had repeatedly called on Sessions to end it, but, oh no, he's recused himself, he's a coward, he's weak, he's harmful to this administration. Donald Trump hated Jeff Sessions because of that one decision. So he decided to get rid of him, replaces him with Sessions' Chief of Staff, Matthew Whitaker, a guy who actually wrote an op-ed explaining exactly how he would get rid of Robert Mueller just a year and a half ago. And here's exactly what he do. He wants to defund it. He wants to pull all the money out of it so that they can't go any further than they already have. There's nothing illegal about that. And there's certainly nothing that's going to show the public like, well, I didn't end it. I just had to cut their funding because it's costing us so damn much money. Something Donald Trump himself has been tweeting about. So they think they can use this as a better avenue to halt the investigation without technically halting it. Well, the good news is I'm pretty sure you could find plenty of wealthy donors out there willing to give some money to help this investigation continue. I mean, after all, George Soros pays all the protesters, right? So I'm sure he could pay enough to keep this investigation going. I'm kidding about that, but that's just how silly Republican conspiracy theories get. But nonetheless, people are afraid right now, and they have every right to be. We are witnessing what many have called the slow-motion Saturday Night Massacre. Getting rid of Jeff Sessions was just the first step. And remember, the reason Rod Rosenstein was even in charge of that investigation was because Sessions recused himself. But now Whitaker's in charge, Rosenstein is no longer overseeing it, and Whitaker is going to have full control over what happens from this point forward. He should recuse himself, but he won't recuse himself because he knows if he does, that's the end of his job as well. These protests are important. These protests that are happening today show us that the American public is not going to sit by while this administration continues to dismantle the rule of law in the United States.